Today we've got a maiden flight on the Freewing Eurofighter 90mm. This is Mike's newest Delta wing. We'll look at the equipment here and what he's got going on, the rates and everything, and the battery placement, and then we'll take it up. Just first look at it, really nice light set up. The gear looks really detailed up and just a great job on the gear. And you know, the fit and finish, it looks good overall on this bird. You know, you got the additional scale feature with the air brake on the top, so it's a good looking model. He did a few decals on it, but we wanted to go ahead and get it up today. So Mike, tell them what all equipment we got and everything about your setup for the maiden flight here.
All right, once again we're using the Spectrum NX8 transmitter, and it is set up with the Spectrum AR8360T telemetry and safe, even though I don't use safe. Using the SMC high voltage, high cycle life 5300, placed all the way back to give me that rearward CG and high alpha. And since there's no flaps on the flap channel, it's set up for the air brake, and it also has thrust reverse right here on the bind button. So as soon as I hit this and power up, it'll have thrust reverse. Didn't like the scheme that this model came with, so you can see I'm kind of half complete with a red Baron theme from the German RAF, is it? No, I can't. German Luftwaffe Air Force. But decided just to get it up today for a maiden and see what it could do.
What kind of rates you gonna go with on the maiden here?
I'm gonna start off with 100% rates and 15% expo. If I need to, I'll go to my mid rates, which is at 90% and 10% expo, or low rates, which is at 80% with 10% expo.
So he's got everything inside there, and we even put the GPS analyzer on the bottom of the canopy there to get it to fit in there as well. So we'll try to get a high-speed pass in and get some kind of a top-speed result on the maiden flight here. So without any more talking, let's get this Eurofighter up in there and see how it performs. All right, Eurofighter 90mm on deck. Let's go.
Take it off.
Looks like I got good power just going down the runway.
Trimmed up a bit.
What you doing? A little bit of elevator trim.
Just twitchy.
So we start off on high rates of 100 over 10, so it's a little twitchy. So we're going back down to low rates. Yeah, I noticed that when you came in that turn, it looked pretty responsive on a roll. Still trimming it in a little bit. That profile on it makes it pretty easy to see even with this gray sky and a gray plane.
It disappears quick.
Oh, I can imagine. I guess it's easy to fall on the camera, just fall on the silhouette. How's the CG feel where the battery's at?
Feels good.
Okay, cool. So Mike's saying the CG's feeling pretty good at that battery placement.
A little bit of right roll. She slows down nice though.
Yeah, I noticed that. It seems like when you pull off the power, it really bleeds the speed off. Right here, he get a little bit of a push. Got about a 5 to 7 mile an hour wind down the runway. So power wise, we didn't really open it up yet, but we'll get her dialed in and then get some more footage of it. Sounds really good with that new motor in it. So it looks like we're at about the 3-minute mark. Timer's beeping now. We'll make it pass by and then bring it on in. Right now we're on the downwind.
Completely off power.
Wow. Lost a little bit there. I started looking up at it. All right. Yeah, so one thing we noticed on the pre-flight checks, that sequencer takes a fair amount of time to get the doors down. So you can go over to the right here. Bring it back in. Set up here on final. Riding the power all the way in. Nice. Use the thrust reverse to slow it down and keep her on the runway. Good job, Mike. We'll taxi it on back. We'll go over to the bench and we'll see what kind of battery life we got left and where we were at on the timer. Now we've got the Eurofighter 90 back on the ground. Let's take a look at some of the results that we got. Mike was on a 3-minute timer. He actually went 1:23 over. However, he was about half throttle most of the flight. So we'll see what we got on the battery life. It will draw some, you know, with this motor having a higher KV and being 12 blades. So I'm curious to see what that is. But 3-minute timer and 1:30 over. So about 4:30 on the throttle. Let's take a look at what we got here. Mike, what we got?
We're sitting at about 376, 377 per cell with you said about 1:23 over we were.
Yep.
But that was roughly about half to 60% throttle on the battery. So I was taking it easy. 24% left, as you can see in the battery.
So on that, we didn't really get a high-speed pass to, you know, get a, fairly accurate top speed because we're doing mainly cruising. However, I think Mike had mentioned on the maiden flight that the ailerons are a little twitchy. So we went in, added some expo to his controls, and he's probably going to start off on medium rates this time, or medium or low rates this time. So we'll go ahead and take it up for the second flight with a few adjustments we had. We're going to leave the battery in the same spot, just swap out the batteries, and then we'll take it up and we'll have the GPS report and also do a battery result at the end of this next flight, so you can get kind of a gauge between cruising around at 50% and opening the plane up a little bit. So but we'll get it
This model is completely different than the FMS Rafale that I have. That's a lot more docile. The front canards only work on elevator, where these work on roll as well. So it's really roll sensitive. I had 100% rates were set up with 15% expo. I upped those now to 25%. And then the medium rates and low rates were at 10% expo, and I upped those to between 15 and 20. So it should calm it down a bit on the roll axis.
On your maiden flight with this one versus a Rafale, how do you feel like the difference between the two?
This one took a bit more trimming. As Brandon said, we noticed a little issue with one of the front canards, particularly this side being a little bit lower, which has caused this aileron back here to kick up a bit to stay level. So we just got to make an adjustment to the control horn and everything should be good to go.
Cool. So good feedback there. Give y'all a comparison between two. Jumped the gun a little bit. I'm ready to get this plane back up in the sky. Really enjoyed watching it. But so take it off. Look like it still took off pretty good. Definitely probably lifted that thing up. A little bit of aileron trim back in. It's okay, as long as it'll fly level. That's just a small little adjustment we did on the plane, canards and the aileron. And as we mentioned, we had a little bit more expo for this one. Looks good right there.
Bring her in for some heat.
All right, heat check on deck. Man, that thing sounds good with that new motor. So not only did they go up in KV, higher RPM, but they went from a 9-blade to a 12-blade. Climbing it up and over for a loop. Bring it back towards us. All right, I'm gonna try to bring it back through and that nose up a little bit on it. Good little pass for the first one. All right, so that one was downwind a little bit. We don't have as much wind as we did the first flight, but definitely helped a little bit going into the wind. Little amount that we did have. There we go. So Mike made a comment, I don't know if y'all heard that or not because we're standing a few feet away, but he said it doesn't high alpha like the Rafale. So, but as we get some more flights, get it dialed in, he gets a little bit more comfortable. You know, we make a little bit better comparison because he's got quite a few flights on that one. And this is on the second flight on the Eurofighter. So he's bringing it around the right side. Apologize for the fence being in the way. Coming in on final. Shoot that reverse in, slowed it down just in time to turn it around. So now we've got the Eurofighter back on the ground. Mike's second flight, really nice flight, smooth flying around. We didn't have AS3X turned on, and it still felt like when I was watching, you know, it flew good. And he'll give you his, you know, comparison between the first and second flight. You know, we did a few adjustments, and you know, we gave you some parameters on the first one. The second flight, the voltage is about the same on the battery, similar flight. However, he can tell you some of the changes he did, maybe some changes we're going to do in the future. And then also in the bottom right hand corner, I'm going to go ahead and put the top speed that we got on the heat check. So Mike, what was your thoughts after the second flight on this bird?
Second flight seemed a lot smoother. Put in, you know, about 10% more expo. Still flying on low rates, 80%, because it was a little twitchy. And I think it just has a lot more authority with the front canards. It seemed to fly a lot smoother, though. Everything, it flies a lot heavier than a Rafale, and it also feels a lot heavier, but it's a more precise, better built plane overall. Other than that, yeah, landing was pretty good. Had to do a bit of trim after we adjusted the aileron and canard. But everything leveled out nice and pretty, and she looped well, and high alpha pretty good.
So yeah, it looked like it flew good over. Like I said, we didn't have any AS3X on, and fairly windy day. I noticed there's a little bit of wing rock when it was up there, but we're going to get that dialed in. You know, we just want to get up there and put it through, get it trimmed out, and making sure everything was good to go on the plane. So 90mm versus 80. How you feel like that, and the weight between the two?
I feel they're about the same. So this has got a bigger engine, but it's heavier. So they're about the same speed between the Rafale and the Eurofighter.
Probably a lot more power going through. The one thing we noticed when we brought this one down, we kind of just held the battery in our hand. Definitely warmer than an 80mm draw, which is to be expected. So you definitely want to have, with this high performance motor that this one's got, a good pack running through the system. So I appreciate y'all watching today. Go ahead and give Mike a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not, and we'll see you on the next one.